Welcome to Nifty 50 Photographers. I'm Richard Gill, I'm now a professional photographer, and it's a question I get asked a lot. How did I get into photography and do the job I'm doing? Well, I wanted to escape that rat race. You see, I used to meet my friends in the pub at the weekend and they thought I had an amazing job. See, I had probably a salary around 6 figures, a nice bonus scheme, and I was traveling around the world. It sounds very glamorous, but any of you who are out there doing it will know that most of the time you just see airport lounges, meeting rooms, and never really the destination you're flying to. Now, on top of that, you've probably got a boss who's always pushing you to get more sales figures or something like that, and riding on your back. So you're grinding away every day, wishing you could get out of that horrible rat race. Well, this is how I did it. So after a particularly bad day at the office, I decided it was time to make a change. I didn't just want to move employers, I want to move to another company that on the face of it might be better, but 3 or 4 years later I'd be as pissed off as I was with my existing employer. So I took a decision to do something that I would really enjoy, and I really looked around at the hobbies I was enjoying and wondered if I could make a living out of them. And photography was the obvious one to go for. I loved taking pictures, and I thought maybe I could get a little bit better and become a pro photographer. I was pretty naive and didn't realise what that involved. So my first steps were to go out and educate myself. Now, if you remember, I was travelling a lot, so every time I got to the airport I bought every photography magazine I could find to learn as much as I could about the craft and all the technical details and all the composition details that I would need that would help me to become a better photographer. I read books, and you'll see I'm surrounded now by several photography books that have probably influenced the way I take photos today. And then as I got nearer to the point where I knew I was going to make this change, I had been thinking about how I would fund it. I was lucky to have a nice bonus scheme with my employer, so I saved up a couple of years bonuses, so I knew I'd have a nice nest egg to fall back on that could fund me as I got my business up and running. I wrote my business plan. I'd come from a business background, so I knew what that was all about, and I'd looked around in my area. Now I live in the northwest of England, very close to the English Lake District, beautiful area, and I didn't think I would be able to make a living out of landscape photography, so steered away for that. I wasn't really into weddings, didn't want to give up every weekend. So I thought the obvious place would be property and architecture. A lot of hotels in the area, a lot of holiday lets, and of course plenty of houses for sale. That was the area I targeted, and I tried to do something different. I decided I would do a mixture of 2 key offerings. Besides property photography, I'd also offer the opportunity for clients to have elevated photos taken, and these were taken from a mast that would extend up to about 50 feet. The other thing I wanted to do was 360-degree virtual tours. Now, the technology was improving a little bit in those days. This is around 2013, and you can create some nice virtual tours of properties, so I thought that would be great for certainly hotels and holiday lets. And I have to say my first year was pretty tough. I'd been used to selling products all my life, not a service, and suddenly I was selling myself, my own personal brand. And that's also quite tough to do, because when people say no, it's hard not to take that personally, because you are the brand, and it's very different from working from a company. But within that first year I started to get things figured out. One of the key things I realized that for the property industry there are a lot of intermediaries, and some of those are good sort of property marketing agencies who are providing services to big national companies. And I was lucky enough to win a contract with one of them, become their photographer for my area, and that meant I had access to a chain of national estate agents, national holiday letting companies. So any properties in my area, then I would get the job of photographing them. And that's really what got me into professional photography. It was that regular source of income, because things like holiday lets and houses for sale, they come up all the year round, especially now most of them are sold usually via the internet in some way, certainly they'll get their first listing there. So images are critically important. Having got that nice established baseline of business, the next thing I could do is expand out and try and find some other services I could sell. So I really went looking to my old colleagues and my old customer base, and consequences now I do things like take photos for lighting companies. I worked in the lighting industry for 30 years, so I had some good connections there. But I also went back to old companies I used to work for, and I was able to make some videos for them or take some photos for them. Now I do a lot more video work because that's the way the industry is moving from, and I think there's more added value for videographers than there is for photographers. Don't get me wrong, the two go hand in hand. I also found some other technology companies. My background was in engineering and technology, so it made sense to go and talk to them because I understood their businesses, I understood their products. So when I was taking photographs, I was able to emphasize the key things that they wanted to get across to their customers. So that helped to build my portfolio and my customer base. The other thing I did was look at the type of businesses in my local area. Now, believe it or not, Cumbria has quite a reputation for food. We have 3 Michelin star restaurants in the county. It's quite unusual for a very rural area, and probably I think it's the only place outside of London that has that kind of number of Michelin star restaurants. And a consequence of that, we have a lot of artisan food producers. So food photography was an obvious next step. I didn't know much about it, got myself on some training courses and had a look at the style of what other people were doing. And now I have some regular clients who come to me for their food photography. So if you're stuck in that rat race and really looking for something different to do, and photography is one of your passions, then I'm here to prove to you it can be done. I'm 9 years down the road now, still making a living. I've survived the pandemic and I'm still enjoying my job. It's evolving all the time, and by no means have I got it figured out yet. But I'm really enjoying it. I'm my own boss, and that's probably one of the greatest things I love about it. So I hope you rise to the challenge and get what you want out of life. And I'll look forward to seeing you in the next video.